Story 1. The Corner of the Basement. I've never shared this story before. It happened nearly 20 years ago. And I swear on everything I love, every word of this is true. It's etched into my memory, and my dad, he'll tell you the same thing. This wasn't just some weird childhood imagination. This was real. And it all happened in the corner of our basement. I was around 10 years old when it started. We lived in this modest home, the kind that looks completely ordinary from the outside. But inside, well, something was always off. It had always been known that the family who lived there before us had a daughter. She died young, from cancer. It wasn't in the house, she passed away in a hospital nearby. But somehow, her presence still lingered. Especially in the basement. From the age of 3 to 18, that basement was mine. It had this makeshift basketball court where I'd shoot hoops every night. Just me, the echo of the ball, and this huge black stereo I used to blast music on. But every night when I finished, I'd race up those stairs. And no matter what, I'd never look in that one corner of the basement. I couldn't explain it. It was like something was there, watching, just waiting for me to look. You know that feeling? When the hair stands up on the back of your neck, like you're not alone? Yeah, that corner owned that feeling. One night, after shooting hoops like I always did, I went upstairs, got ready for bed, and laid down. My room was quiet. The house was still. My dad had just laid down too, in his room. We were both just settling in for the night. Then, knock, my dad's at my door. "Hey," he says, "you forgot to turn the stereo off." I sat up confused. "No, I didn't," I said. "I swear I turned it off." He looked at me, dead serious. "It's absolutely blaring." We both walked to the basement door. He opens it, and this wave of sound just comes roaring up. It was blasting like someone had turned the volume all the way up. The lights were off. The basement was pitch black. He went down. I stayed at the top of the stairs. A few seconds later, the music cuts. He turns the stereo off. Comes back up, shaking his head. "I don't know, man," he said. "Maybe it didn't shut down all the way, but I knew I had turned it off. That thing had a big power button that clicked when you pressed it. You couldn't miss it." A few days passed, nothing weird, life went on. Then came the night. The one I'll never forget. I had just finished playing basketball, like usual. Turned the stereo off, shut off the basement lights, raced up the stairs like always, and crawled into bed. I was lying there, eyes closed, when I started hearing something. A soft sound, repetitive, thump, thump. I sat up, tried to place it. It was coming from the vent in the corner of my room. But deep down, we both know it wasn't a joke. I leaned over, put my ear right up to it, and then I froze. It wasn't just a random noise, it was dribbling, my basketball. Someone was bouncing it, downstairs, in the basement. I ran out of my room and into my dad's. I didn't even say anything, I just pointed at the vent. He walked over, listened. After a few seconds, he looks at me, eyes wide. "Stay here," he said. He grabbed a flashlight, walked down to the basement. Then, silence. He came back up. "Nothing," he said. It was quiet. Pitch dark, but the dribbling had been real. We both heard it. I didn't go down to the basement for a while after that. When I did, that corner still gave me chills. We never saw anything. Never caught anything on camera or heard any voices. Just feelings, sounds, things that shouldn't have happened. That vent? It sat right above the exact corner of the basement I always avoided. Even today, 20 years later, my dad and I will joke about it. "Hey, remember the ghost playing basketball?" But deep down, we both know it wasn't a joke. I don't know if it was the girl who passed, or something else, but whatever it was, it knew I was there, watching, listening, waiting, and it knew exactly when to make itself heard. Story 2. The Ghosts of Dorm C. I work night shift, third shift, in one of the oldest prisons in the country. The kind of place where the walls don't just have ears, they have memories. And before it became a prison, it was already a cage. The dorm I'm stationed in was built in the 1880s, back when this place was still a boys' industrial school. It's just me here at night. One man, one post, and 3 ghosts. The instructional grounds were laid in the 1850s, originally a boys' school, not a regular school, a correctional institution. For a century, troubled kids were locked away here. Discipline was harsh. Inmates today? They're rough, sure. But these old bricks, they've seen worse. When the state converted it into a prison, they didn't tear anything down. They just added bars, cameras, and us. I've walked these halls hundreds of nights. The air's heavy. Not just old used. You feel like you're walking through someone else's memory. But it's not the living that worry me. The first spirit I ever noticed was the key man. It starts as a sound far off, the jangling of keys. Not the new radio chain type. These are old school, brass, heavy. You know when you're the only officer on the shift. No one's supposed to be around, and yet, ching, clank, shuffle. It echoes down the corridor, like an old officer still walking his rounds. I used to go check. I don't anymore. He's never there. One night I left my keys on my desk, walked a few feet away to check something. Then jingling right behind me, I turned. My keys hadn't moved. Whatever he is, the key man's still on duty. Then there's the shadow man. I've seen him. Not like a figure hiding in the dark. He is the dark. He moves like liquid spilled across a table, fast but smooth. Like he's not walking, he's sliding. First time I saw him, I was doing rounds in the East Wing. Lights buzzed above me. Something moved across the hallway. Low, wrong. Like it didn't follow the floor, it skimmed just over it. I blinked, thinking I imagined it, but then I saw it again. Just a ripple of black, darker than the shadows around it. It vanished into the old stairwell. The second time I saw him, I had just finished a log entry. I looked up and there he was, in the far end of the hallway. Still, watching. I didn't move. Neither did he. Then, in one smooth motion, he slid across the hallway and disappeared behind the wall. I checked. Nothing was there. I don't know if the key man and the shadow are the same thing. But I hope not, because the shadow man doesn't feel human. The last spirit is the one that hits different. They call him the boy. He's small, maybe 10, pale face. Dark hair, always wearing the same thing, white t-shirt, barefoot, and he's fast. You don't really see him head on, just flickers. Out the corner of your eye, like a mouse darting across the room. Always near the stairs. You'll be walking your round, then suddenly movement. You turn and nothing's there, but you know something just moved. I've seen him 3 times. Once I saw him standing on the landing. I blinked and he was gone. Another time I saw a small hand slip behind the stair rail, just as I looked up. The third time, I was walking past the base of the stairs. I swear to God, I felt a breeze pass right behind me. And a whisper, it just said, "She." I turned around. No one. I didn't finish that round. I just sat at my post, listening, waiting. I've worked this post for years. People ask me why I stay. I don't really know. Maybe I respect them, whoever they are. The key man still walking his rounds. The shadow gliding through corridors. The boy still waiting for a home he never found. They've never hurt me, but I also don't test them. I nod when I hear the keys. I avoid the stairwell if I can. And when I see movement in the dark, I don't chase it. I let it pass. Story 3. We went ghost hunting in an abandoned school. I know everyone says this, but I swear what I'm about to tell you is 100% true. My friends and I didn't go looking for trouble that night. We just wanted to chase a ghost story. What we found instead, it's haunted us ever since. It was a typical Saturday. I was with my usual group, Cameron and Logan. He's got all the geary MF detectors, dowsing rods, spirit boxes, even a Ouija board. Cameron's dad is a regular ghost hunter, the real deal. Logan had always been fascinated by the paranormal, and for months, we joked about doing a hunt ourselves. Near Cameron's place is this abandoned school, long shut down after a dark rumor took hold. That a child had been murdered there by a homeless man, and that his spirit never left. It was a story told in whispers, a place parents warned us to stay away from. So naturally, at midnight, we grabbed the ghost hunting gear and headed in. The second we stepped onto the school grounds, something felt off. Not just the cold or the decay, it felt like the building was watching us. We set up base in room 31. Cameron pulled the Ouija board from the gear bag and set it on a desk, still boxed. We spread out the rest of the tools. Spirit box in room 32, dowsing rods in room 33, EMF, detectors and rope sensors in room 30, all nearby. Just in case. We started with the spirit box. Just asking simple things. Is anyone here with us? Can you tell us your name? Static, static, static. Then out of the corner of my eye, I saw something. A flicker. A shadow. I told myself it was nothing, just nerves. So I stepped away to grab some chips from the backpack we'd left back in room 31. That's when things started unraveling. I walked into the hallway and froze. At the far end, right by the school's main entrance, stood a tall shadow of a man. Not moving, not shifting, just standing there. My first thought was security, or a cop. I ran back to room 32 and told the others. Cameron and I checked. Nothing, no one there. He laughed it off. Logan shrugged. But when I got back to room 31, something was wrong. The Ouija board, it was out of the box. 3 photos of students were pinned to the whiteboard. Each one marked with a thick, angry X drawn over their faces. I know those photos weren't there before. And the Ouija board? No one had touched it. I sprinted back to the others. Breathless. Told them what I saw. They laughed, called me paranoid. I almost believed them, until it spoke. Through the spirit box, clear as day, run. One word, deep, raspy, male. It stopped us cold. Logan wrote it down in his notebook. We asked follow-ups. Silence. So we headed to room 30 to check the EMF detectors. The moment we stepped inside, beep, beep, the detectors went crazy. Lights blinking like mad. We didn't hesitate. We turned everything off and started packing up. We returned to room 31 to grab the gear and that damn Ouija board. Logan, for whatever reason, said, "Let's try it, just once." Cameron and I hesitated. We agreed, just for a second. But as we stepped inside, we stopped cold. The Ouija board was already out. The photos were still on the board. This time, Cameron's face went pale. Logan just muttered, "No way." I felt it before I saw it. A cold chill crawled up my back. The hairs on my neck stood up. I turned, and there he was. A man, tall, shadowy. His edges blurred, like static on a broken TV. He just stood there, looking at us. Then gone, in the blink of an eye. We didn't say a word. We just grabbed our stuff and left. Fast. No one looked back. It's been 3 months since that night. We still go ghost hunting. Still chase shadows, but we've never gone back to that school. Not yet, anyway. And if we do, we won't bring the Ouija board. Story 4. Shadows on the floor. This is something I've never shared online before. It happened over 20 years ago, and to this day, I still think about it. My dad can vouch for every word. It's 100% real. What happened in that basement still haunts me. I grew up in a quiet neighborhood in a house with a dark past. The rest of the house felt normal, peaceful even. But the basement? The family who lived there before us had a daughter. She passed away from cancer when she was very young, not in the house, but in a nearby hospital. Still, the energy lingered. Especially in one place. From the time I was about 10 years old, I started noticing something strange about our basement. Just a hoop bolted to the wall and a big black stereo blasting music while I played. I used to shoot hoops nearly every night. It was off. I refused to look behind me, especially not into the far right corner of the room. The voice in your head whispering, "Don't look back, or you'll see something." We had a little makeshift basketball court down there. But no matter how many times I was down there, every time I finished, I'd run up the stairs like my life depended on it. It wasn't just childhood fear. It felt like something was watching me from that exact spot. Not every now and then. Every single night. I'd be mid-sprint up the stairs, heart racing, and I'd feel it, that instinct, that cold sweat. One night, I finished shooting hoops, turned off the stereo like I always did, and went to bed. My room was just upstairs, and my dad was across the hall in his. We both laid down at the same time. Lights out, silent. Then just a few minutes later, my dad knocks on my door. "Hey, you forgot to turn off the stereo." I told him, "No way, I turned it off." He looked confused. "It's blasting down there." He walked down into the basement alone, lights off. The stereo was blaring at full volume. He turned it off and came back upstairs, visibly shaken. We didn't talk much about it, just exchanged that look. You know the one. Roughly a week later, it happened again. Same routine. I shot hoops, turned everything off, went to bed. As I was lying there, something felt wrong, like the silence was too loud. I glanced at the vent in the corner of my room, the one that connected directly to the basement. Then I heard it. A soft bounce, bounce. I got up, pressed my ear against the vent. It was unmistakable. It was my basketball, dribbling. I ran to my dad's room, heart pounding. He looked skeptical, but followed me anyway. He pressed his ear to the same vent. Bounce, bounce. He heard it too. We both stood frozen. Then he grabbed a flashlight and went downstairs. The dribbling stopped. Pitch black. Cold. Silent. Nothing. Just the ball, sitting still on the floor. That corner, the one I always avoided, the one right beneath my bedroom, it was directly under the vent. The same place I always felt watched. The same place I never dared to look at when I ran up the stairs. We never figured it out. Not really. My dad joked, "Maybe she liked your music." But even he didn't laugh much when he said it. That house still stands. Someone else lives there now. I often wonder if they ever shoot hoops in the basement, or if they ever feel someone watching from the corner. Even now, 20 years later, it's something my dad and I remember vividly. Something we talk about over dinner, in that "you had to be there" kind of way. We always laugh, but it's a nervous kind of laughter, because we know what we experienced. And sometimes, late at night, I still hear it. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Thanks for listening. If you've ever had a paranormal experience, or felt that cold presence in the room when you're alone, drop your story in the comments. And remember, don't look in the corner. Story 5. I work with autistic kids in a haunted facility. I work as a behavior therapist in a multi-level building with dozens of rooms, clinics, classrooms, and hallways. And most people have no idea what is tucked deep inside the north wing of the bottom floor. A therapy center for children with autism aged 2 to 17. It should be a safe place. But what's been happening down there feels anything but safe. And if I hadn't experienced it myself again and again, I don't think I would have believed any of it. I'm only a few weeks away from transitioning into the business end of the company. I've got my MBA, and I'm hoping to join the marketing team, first as a tech, then an RBT, and now as a therapist. But this company only hires from within, so I had to start from the bottom. That is the only reason I've spent so much time in this building as therapy center. Over a dozen of them. Sensory rooms, offices, restrooms, break rooms, all sealed away like a hidden wing in a maze-like complex. And I swear to you, something is wrong with it. You enter through 2 sets of heavy doors. Then there's a narrow hallway, and finally one last door that leads into the therapy rooms. We laugh about it sometimes, say it's haunted. But it's not really a joke. It starts small, and then it doesn't. There's a little boy I work with, a sweet kid who uses a PEX board to communicate. He has a habit of locking the bathroom door, so we're trained to monitor him closely during restroom breaks. At first, we didn't think much of it. Just a developmental behavior we needed to help manage. But one day, I walked him to the bathroom. Saw him physically walk to the toilet. The bathroom door is supposed to close slowly, but this time, it slammed. I thought he yanked it, but when I opened it, he was still standing at the toilet, peeing. He hadn't moved. I shut the door again. A few seconds passed. Then 3 hard knocks. Not little kid knocks, heavy, like an adult's knuckles hitting wood. I opened it. He hadn't moved, still peeing. Still completely unaware. There was no one else in that room. And it wasn't the last time it happened. Other co-workers reported the exact same thing at different times with the same child. No one could explain how. Another time, a co-worker was writing with a black pen while training a new tech. Mid-sentence, she suddenly paused. "Where did my pen go?" she asked. We all laughed at first. But it wasn't in her lap, not in her pockets, not on the floor. She hadn't moved. Then she opened a drawer. And another, nothing. She opened a third, and inside a plastic bag was the pen. We all saw it. She hadn't gone near that drawer. And even if she had, there's no way she could have dropped the pen into a sealed bag without us noticing. Something put it there. Another day, I grabbed a plastic bag of coins for a therapy activity, labeled, clearly organized. I turned to throw something away, came back, it was gone. I asked my coworker, she hadn't seen it. A minute later, it was sitting right there again, same spot, but now another bag was missing. When I turned around again, it was on my chair. My coworker looked at me pale. "I didn't put that there," she whispered. "I swear to God." We tried to laugh it off, but the laughter wasn't real. One therapist told us she was walking hand in hand with a 13-year-old client when suddenly, her arm yanked backward. She looked back, confused. Her hand was empty. And the boy was standing several feet behind her where they had started walking. He was just staring at her, blank expression. But she still felt a hand in hers. Who was she holding? During a graduation party, the kids were dancing with balloons. One boy popped his out of frustration. Seconds later, a random balloon across the room popped. Then another, and another. One of them had confetti. It was taped to the wall. It popped mid-air. The kids ran beneath it like it was planned. But we didn't plan that. Then one of the therapists said, "I love how everyone is sitting so nicely." Immediately, a child fell from their chair. Then another. Both were graduating that day. And no, these weren't clumsy kids. We looked at each other, too afraid to speak what we were all thinking. Something else was there, mocking us. We've heard children scream in empty rooms. We found glow-in-the-dark stars ripped from the ceiling. One back door, the kind that can't be opened from inside, was found wide open. A puddle of water just beyond it. One day, we heard retching. Someone violently throwing up behind a locked bathroom door. We grabbed the master key, opened it. No one was inside. No vomit, just the stench. And then, the toilet flushed on its own. We ran, every one of us. Story 6. The ghosts in my London flat were real. I've never really believed in ghosts. I'm not religious. I've seen weird things, sure. Shadows that made me double take. Doors that creaked for no reason. But nothing that ever made me think, yeah, the paranormal is real. I haven't been able to explain what happened. Until I lived in that house in London. And ever since. 4 other people lived there, all around my age. Friendly, chill, dirty house. But whatever, I signed the contract and moved in the next day. It started about 6 years ago. I was a broke 20-year-old student, just desperate for a place to live. I always kept the curtains shut tight, but weirdly, I'd come home after classes to find them open. Wide open, every single day. I'd close them again, leave, come back, still open. My flat contract had ended and I needed to move out that day. The hall light didn't work, so the hallways were pitch black at night. The garden was totally overgrown, like no one had touched it in years, and the windows facing it were cracked, scratched, like something had clawed at them. But every night, usually around 2 or 3 a.m, I'd hear stomping. So I Googled the cheapest place available and found this big detached house on the edge of London. The place had a bad vibe from the start. Always cold and damp. My room, small, west-facing. I was the only one with a key, and they never opened when I was in the room. There was a locked attic above my room. No one had access. Supposedly, it was just for storage. Footsteps. Running. Sometimes ... whispering. I even tried creeping up to the attic door once, just to listen. The steps would stop the second I got close. No one ever admitted to going up there. Then there was the bathroom window. My flatmate warned me the first night. You'll hear scratching sometimes. Ignore it. We all do. I thought it was just a branch brushing the glass. But it wasn't. 6 or 7 weeks in, one of the guys moved out, and a friend of mine, also a student, moved in. I told him all the stories, but we laughed it off. Neither of us believed in ghosts. But slowly, he started noticing the same stuff. Curtains opening on their own, footsteps above us at night, scratching on the bathroom window. He told me once he felt like we were being watched. He even thought someone might be living in the shed. There was a broken panel facing the kitchen. One day pest control came by and opened it. Inside were piles of hollowed out bee carcasses and half a dozen dead rats, still no monsters. But then, everything changed. One night we were eating dinner in the kitchen. He was facing the glass doors that looked out into the garden. I was facing him. Suddenly he froze, went pale. Then he stood up shakily and said, "Can you come to my room?" I laughed. Why? He didn't smile. He just said, "Seriously, please, just come to my ***ing room." He sprinted down the hall like something was chasing him. I followed, still clueless. He locked the door behind us, sat on the bed, and turned on his PlayStation like he was trying to forget everything. After a few minutes, he told me he'd seen a woman in the garden, a white dress, pale skin, floating, not walking, past the glass doors. Then she just vanished. 2 nights later, he woke me up at 3 or 4 a.m, banging on my door. He was shaking. He said his bed was vibrating, like something was underneath it. He packed his things the next day and left. Gone, just like that. Another flatmate left soon after. The house was falling apart, and not just physically. Then, the landlord showed up to inspect the place. He had a spare key to the room of one of the tenants who'd gone to Algeria for months. We opened the door, and his room was perfect. Warm, clean, dry, like it existed in a different house entirely. I'd already made plans to move in with my girlfriend. She hated the house, barely ever visited, said it felt wrong. My final night, I was home alone. At around 3 a.m, noises, hallway footsteps. I opened my door, pitch black. I walked through the living room and heard scratching at the back window. I went to the bathroom with a torch, finished, zipped up, shined the light across the window, and nothing. But something told me to look again. Without the torch, in the dark, I saw the shape of a man. Big, still, watching. I locked myself in my room and sat on the bed all night with my bags packed, listening to the attic footsteps. I didn't sleep. At sunrise, I called a cab, and I never looked back. You couldn't pay me to go back there. I still don't know what I saw. I still don't believe in ghosts, But if that wasn't a haunting, then I don't know what is. Whether it's the sound of keys echoing through a deserted prison, shadows that slither like spilled coffee, or a single word whispered through a spirit box. One thing's for sure, something is out there, and it's watching. These were just a few of the most terrifying Reddit horror stories shared by real people. But the scariest part, you might be next. Have you experienced something that defies explanation? Drop your story in the comments, I read every one. And if this video gave you chills, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next nightmare. Until then, sleep tight. And remember, sometimes it's not your imagination. It's something real.